Whether you're talking about books, movies, or in this case, video games, the ending is considered by many to be absolutely paramount. Sure enough, not every game gets it right. But what about those games that had you hooked right up until the last moments when it completely lost you? What about those terrible endings to otherwise stone-cold classic games? Well, then you get one of these very unfortunate cases of leaving your audience with whatever the video game equivalent of blue balls is. While we reflect on the fact that I've now said blue balls in a WhatCulture list, I will warn you there are of course spoilers ahead. I'm Jess from WhatCulture and here are 10 brilliant video games with terrible endings. Number 10. Batman Arkham Asylum. Putting this at the bottom of the list because it's more of an example of a bad final boss as opposed to a bad overall ending. But make no mistake, this was one disappointing end to an otherwise landmark title. Granted, we're not sure how you could have done this right, seeing as how Batman Arkham City proved that when the Joker and Batman go head to head, the Joker kinda has the cards stacked against him when it comes to actual fisticuffs. So if the Joker wanted a proper boss fight, he'd have to do something to tip the scales in his favor. Which, according to Rocksteady Studios, means turning himself into a big lumbering monster with Freddy Krueger claws and a stupid-ass mohawk. You just punchy him a bunch, then fight goons, then yank the Joker down with your grappling hook. Rinse and repeat for about 3 times until he stays down. Number 9. Borderlands. When your own sequel refers to the end of your game as, and I quote, tentacles and disappointment, then you know you've got a problem. Throughout the game, you're being hounded by the typical Borderlands super charismatic baddie that wants your ass on a silver platter for various reasons that ultimately don't really matter. You're given every reason by the end to want these guys dead, especially when they get to your goal, the vault, before you do. And then a giant monster pops up out of the vault and tentacles the villain you're actually invested in through the chest. Like we said, tentacles and disappointment. The fight itself isn't even all that interesting to make up for it. Unlike the other bosses and baddies, this guy just stays in one place taking damage like a sponge. So long as you have somewhere to hide, you're safe, bringing this fight down to a numbers game, something the series bends over backwards trying to keep itself from becoming. Is it any wonder that 2K clearly don't look back on this first outing with any kind of fondness? Number 8. Halo 2. There are some entries that you probably knew from the start were going to make their way onto this list somehow, and that the only shocking part would be where we'd actually put them. So it's probably pretty perplexing that one of the most infamously infuriating endings in gaming history is so low on the list. Rest assured we tried, but we just found the ones that come after this to be even more teeth grinding. But that doesn't make the ending to this game any less frustrating. After all, it's just 4 words. Sir, finishing this fight, then bam, end credits. No indication of what he means by that or how he plans to achieve it. In fact, Halo 3 opens with him falling to Earth, with no signs that this takes place immediately after the end of Halo 2. For a story that was easily one of the best paced Halo game stories up until that point, this was definitely disappointing to fans. Number 7. Vanquish. Platinum Games' Vanquish is easily one of the most viscerally fun games ever made by a company that specializes in viscerally fun games. Fast, action-packed with awesome mechanics like speeding up or slowing down time and satisfying shooting, while the story is never the main reason you play a Platinum game, the ending is still the ending, so you should at least try to make it a good one. That is not what happened here. Not at all. Besides the many plot threads left hanging in the air by the end, the ending just feels a bit empty compared to the rest of the game. Not only does the main villain escape, the hero is left adrift in space, with naught but the game's horrible voice acting to keep him company. And unlike Halo 2, which had some redemption in Halo 3, there's no game coming to answer those lingering questions. Number 6. Far Cry 2. Far Cry is known for its Debbie Downer endings, pretty much across the board. Now, we were thinking of putting Far Cry 4's ending here, where you're either tricked into helping a religious militia or a child soldier-fueled despot take over the country of Kyrat. But at least that one has an alternate ending where you learn the truth without being bamboozled. No, for this list we've gone with the ending to Far Cry 2, where no matter which ending you choose, you die horribly, while the main bad guy, arms dealer the Jackal, gets away scot-free. It's just a really anticlimactic end to what was otherwise an excellent survival shooter. Number 5. Dark Souls. It only makes sense that a series whose approach to storytelling can be summed up as non-committal at the best of times isn't really the best at making an ending. Ask anyone who never got into Dark Souls, and even some fans, what their problem with the game's story is, and you'll usually get the same answer. Nothing you do really matters. And they're not wrong, as the game's ending so helpfully demonstrates. At the end of it all, you aren't really accomplishing or changing anything. You're just prolonging an already shitty world state where everyone is either dead or insane, because the alternative is removing the latter of those two so that everything is just dead. Nihilism can be fun if played for a joke, but if you're actually trying to make a point and the only point you can make is pointlessness, that doesn't exactly make you smart. Number 4. Knights of the Old Republic 2. If there's one series that is solely responsible for putting BioWare on the map, it would be Knights of the Old Republic. However, they only really did one of the 2 KOTOR games, while the other one was handled by New Vegas devs Obsidian Entertainment, which is fine, as they're immensely talented as well. Its ending is literally, unfortunately, just a Q&A. You defeat Kreia after either sacrificing or saving your entire crew and beating Kreia's little psycho Sith boy toy. As a reward, she chooses to tell you what becomes of your friends after the story is concluded. That's right, the epilogue to the game is straight up told step by step to you instead of actually showing you anything. Number 3. Deus Ex Human Revolution. One type of game that can definitely rub people the wrong way with its endings are RPGs. Because of how story heavy they are, your ending to that story had better be damn good or people are gonna get pretty rightly pissed. Which brings us nicely to Deus Ex Human Revolution. While the devs definitely learned their lesson in the next game, as Mankind Divided actually had a pretty decent ending, Human Revolution did what all bad RPG endings do and gave you a multiple choice question that resulted in different endings. Not based on your previous choices or anything. In fact, they're completely cut off from the choices you made in the rest of the game, barring a few little details here and there. It's not the worst offender of this, oh no, that's for the next entry, and you know what it is, but it's still pretty disappointing compared to the rest of the game, which was one of the best RPG experiences of the last 10 years. Number 2. Mass Effect 3. You knew this one was coming, don't act like you didn't. The ending of Mass Effect 3 is so infamous that fans threw a hissy fit strong enough to actually make BioWare change it to please people. Whether sating the cries of angry fanboys was a good or a bad thing in the long run is up to you to decide, but it speaks to how bad this ending was that it didn't really happen until this game hit the shelves. And it was bad, despite my snark. It's basically what happened in Deus Ex, but somehow worse, since at least Human Revolution was the first game, so it was starting things rather than ending them. This is the big finale of the series, the final battle with the Eldritch Reapers. This was the death of Commander Shepard and the destruction of the Reapers, and it all boiled down to, do you want this ending, or this ending? Mass Effect 3 boiled down the fate of the universe to a multiple choice question, which yes, the rest of the game did, but this part made it more stark and apparent than ever before. Number 1. Half-Life 2 Episode 2. But then at least Mass Effect 3 had an ending. Say what you will about it, it was an ending. Meanwhile, Valve didn't feel like giving us that much. The reason everyone wants Half-Life 3 so badly and is so angry that they're definitely never ever gonna give it to us is because of the blue balls that Half-Life 2 Episode 2 left us on. It ends on about as searing a cliffhanger as you can get, with major character Eli dead, you lying there 1 foot in the grave, and Alex kneeling and weeping over Eli's dead body. Roll credits. Yep, that's the last you ever see of these characters, this story, and indeed the entire franchise. Of course, things have changed a little bit with Half-Life Alyx, but I won't get into any spoilers here. With a major character dead and the bad guys victorious, this one was a bummer of an ending. That's the end of our list, but do let me know down in that comment box what you think about our entries and if you can think of any other brilliant video games with terrible endings. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at JessMcDonnell, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great gaming goodness.